Welcome to Mochi English. Today we're going to explore how to ask for directions in a brand new city, because let's face it, getting lost can be both exciting and a little terrifying. I'm Sam, your host, and right now, I've just arrived at a new city for the very first time. The sun is setting on a beautiful autumn evening, casting golden hues across the wide streets of this bustling metropolis. I stepped out of the train station, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness as I tried to take in my surroundings. This was my first day here, and every street looked exciting but also slightly daunting. I had been looking forward to exploring this city for months, reading up on its history and attractions. But now that I'm actually here, with the real city stretching out before me, it's hard not to feel a bit overwhelmed. I wandered down the main thoroughfare, trying to navigate my way towards the center of town where I wanted to start. As I walked, the signs started to confuse me. Some were in English, some weren't. The street names seemed to change direction every few blocks, and it was getting harder to keep track of which way I had come from. That's when I decided it was time to ask for help. I spotted a young woman standing at a crosswalk, her back to me as she spoke on the phone. She looked like someone who might be able to help. I approached cautiously and said, "Excuse me, could you please tell me how to get to the old town center?" The lady turned around with a friendly smile. "Sure thing," she replied, gesturing for me to follow her. "I'm right on my way there too." She led me down the street, pointing out landmarks and giving me directions as we walked. I was beginning to feel more confident now that someone was guiding me. But just when I thought everything was going smoothly, a man approached us and started to speak rapidly in a language I didn't recognize. I felt my heart rate pick up slightly, but the woman smiled at him and said something reassuringly. The man then pointed to his watch and gestured for us to hurry, which really helped me get where I needed to go faster. By the time we arrived at our destination, I was feeling much more relaxed. Standing in front of an ancient-looking building with a clock tower rising high into the sky, I thanked my guide. She smiled warmly and wished me well on my exploration of this new city before she turned back towards her phone call, disappearing down another street. And there I stood, ready to explore, ready for whatever adventures lay ahead in this wonderful new place. But first, I knew what was coming next: more wandering, more questions, and maybe a few more misadventures as I learned my way around. That's the spirit of exploring a city, isn't it? And that's exactly where we'll pick up our story again later on today. Now, ready to explore, ready for whatever adventures lay ahead in this wonderful new place. But first, I knew what was coming next: more wandering, more questions, and maybe a few more misadventures as I learned my way around. That's the spirit of exploring a city, isn't it? And that's exactly where we'll pick up our story again later on today. It was early morning when I stepped out from the station, the cool air nipping at my cheeks and the sun just beginning to cast its golden light across the rooftops. My map clutched tightly in one hand, a coffee cup in the other, I set off down the bustling street, eager to immerse myself in this new city. The streets were alive with activity, shopkeepers setting up their stalls, students rushing to school, and a steady stream of locals and tourists walking about. The sights, sounds, and smells assaulted my senses, making every step feel like an exciting discovery. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was slightly off. The map seemed to tell one story while the city's layout whispered another. I found myself at a crossroads, unsure which direction to turn next. A local woman approached me with a warm smile and a nod of her head in my general direction, but I felt lost, like a ship without a compass. "Excuse me," I said hesitantly, feeling the map fluttering in my hand. "I'm trying to get to the nearest market, do you know where it is?" She looked at me with kind eyes and gestured towards her right. "Oh, yes. Go straight down this street for a few minutes, then turn left at the second cafe on your right. You won't miss it, they serve great coffee there." I thanked her with a shy smile, feeling a bit embarrassed by my own confusion. The woman's words were clear enough, but I still wasn't entirely sure how to navigate from here. A little later, I found myself facing another junction. This time, the map and reality were a bit more at odds, and I felt my confidence waver just a little. "Oh no," I muttered under my breath, feeling a small panic rising in me as I realized I might need some help again. I spotted a young man with headphones around his neck, walking past a shop door open for business. He looked like he knew where everything was, and the city's vibe seemed to trust him implicitly. "Excuse me," I said loudly enough to grab his attention. "Could you please help me? I'm looking for the nearest market, but I can't seem to find it on my map." He stopped walking and turned towards me with a friendly smile. "Sure thing. Let's see your map." I handed over the crumpled piece of paper, feeling a bit self-conscious. He scanned it quickly before pointing out that I had missed a crucial turn at the previous intersection. "Actually," he said, adjusting his headphones, "you should have gone straight after passing the post office, not turned right as you did on your map." I thanked him gratefully and watched as he continued on his way, leaving me with a renewed sense of direction. With that advice in mind, I retraced my steps, determined to find my way. The streets were still lively, but now they began to look more familiar. It was like the city itself had opened its arms to me, welcoming me in with every turn and twist. A few minutes later, I found myself walking down a narrow alley, the market just ahead. The smell of fresh produce and baked goods wafted through the air, drawing me closer. As I stepped into the crowded marketplace, a wave of gratitude washed over me for the guidance I had received. Without those helpful strangers, my journey might have been much more difficult. And so, with a heart full of appreciation and a map that was beginning to make more sense, I set off to explore the vibrant life around me. Now, as I wandered through the bustling streets, the sounds of the market faded into a background hum. The colorful stalls with their exotic fruits and spices filled my senses, but even amidst all this, there was one question that kept swirling in my head: where could I find some good local art? I decided to ask for directions from a nearby vendor who seemed particularly busy. She had a wide smile on her face as if she enjoyed talking to visitors. "Excuse me," I said politely, approaching the woman. "Could you help me with something?" She looked up from weighing out a bag of colorful peppers and gave me an encouraging nod. "I'm looking for some local art shops or galleries. Do you know where I might find them?" I asked, gesturing towards the map that was still clutched in my hand. The vendor's eyes lit up as she realized what I was after. "Oh, yes. You're in luck," she said, pointing to a spot on her own map, which seemed to be slightly different from mine. "There's a small gallery just down this street, and then you can turn left into the smaller alleyway. It's a bit out of the way, but oh so worth it." I thanked her warmly, feeling grateful for the information. As I started walking again, I found myself in a narrower lane filled with artists' studios and quaint shops. A few minutes later, I arrived at what seemed to be the main gallery. The door was slightly open, and a sweet scent of paint and canvas greeted me as I stepped inside. Inside, the space was cozy yet vibrant, with works by local artists displayed on the walls. There were paintings, sculptures, and even some mixed media pieces that caught my eye. As I wandered through the gallery, I felt like I had found exactly what I was looking for. After spending a pleasant hour exploring the art and chatting with the friendly artist who was there, I realized it was time to head back to my accommodation. As I walked out into the main street, I couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. The day had been filled with unexpected discoveries and new experiences. And for that, I felt incredibly grateful. With a smile on my face, I continued my exploration of this vibrant city, ready to see what other surprises awaited me. Walking down the main street, I passed by shops with colorful signs and people bustling about their daily routines. The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm glow over everything in its path. I had spent most of the day exploring the city, taking note of interesting landmarks and trying out some new foods at a nearby cafe. As the light grew softer, I realized I needed to find my accommodation for the night. The hotel's address was written on a small piece of paper in my pocket, but as much as I tried, I couldn't seem to locate it on the map. It was starting to get a bit dark, and I didn't want to end up lost or wandering aimlessly. Deciding to ask for help, I turned into the first alleyway that looked like it might have some light from a nearby cafe. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air, luring me closer. Inside, a group of locals were gathered around a table, talking and laughing. I approached one of them, feeling my cheeks flush with embarrassment but determined to get directions. "Excuse me," I said hesitantly, "could you help me find my way? I'm trying to reach this place, here's the address." I pulled out the piece of paper from my pocket and showed it to him. The man looked at the address for a moment, then smiled warmly. "Sure, no problem," he said. "Let me just show you on the map." He walked over to a nearby table with a large map spread across it and began to explain the route to me. "Okay, so from here, you need to follow this main street until you reach the roundabout. Then take the third exit and go straight for 2 blocks. You should see a small cafe on your right, that's where your hotel is." He pointed out several landmarks on the map, each one helping me feel more confident. I thanked him sincerely and nodded along as he continued to guide me. "Thank you so much. I really appreciate your help," I said, feeling grateful for his kindness. With a satisfied smile, the man replied, "No problem at all. Enjoy your stay in our city." He gave me one last reassuring nod before returning to his conversation with the others. Feeling reassured and more confident, I set off towards my accommodation. Following the directions accurately, I soon found myself standing outside the hotel's entrance. The building was modern yet charming, just as it had been described on the internet. Stepping inside, I checked in and felt a wave of relief wash over me. The staff were friendly and made sure everything was good with my room. I didn't even have to carry my luggage upstairs, they offered to take care of that for me. As I settled into my room, I couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. The day had been filled with unexpected discoveries and new experiences. And for that, I felt incredibly grateful. With a smile on my face, I continued my exploration of this vibrant city, ready to see what other surprises awaited me. Before we go, let's review the new words we learned today. First, thoroughfare. Thoroughfare means a major street or road. Next, landmarks. Landmarks means important buildings or places. Then, nipping. Nipping means causing a slight cold feeling. Another one, assaulted. Assaulted means hit suddenly with many things. And finally, waver. Waver means become uncertain or less confident. Great job today. Try to use these words this week. Thanks for learning with Mochi English. See you next time.